What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrub here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are all having an absolutely fantastic day. I know I am. If you are, be sure to press the like button. Otherwise, no joke, no scam. Vladimir Putin will launch an intercontinental ballistic missile towards your household with the single word on the top saying like button. Yeah, he's gonna type it as one word. It's not even two. Trust me, Vladimir Putin is a big Scrubby fan, and he promised me that if you didn't press the like button, he would send the nuke himself. So, yeah, I would press it. Otherwise, your entire family's about to have a really, really rough Wednesday. Anyways, guys, today I'm going to be telling you guys the story of when Grant and I crashed a stranger's wedding. Yeah, that's right. Sometimes you just got to full send for the meme, and breaking into a stranger's wedding is a pretty fun way to go as far as having a wild adventure in the middle of the summer evening, except it's like the middle of the summer. You know, I'm not really sure what I was going for there, but you guys get the idea. Grant and I crashed a wedding, and it was a really good time, and overall, we did end up getting kicked out, but it was an absolute blast while we were doing it. So, yeah, let's get into it. Now, I personally think weddings are dope, bro. Like, I think love is dope. Like, I don't know what it is about them, but they're just a really good time, and it's something about two people joining their lives and, like, starting a life together is really cool to me. So, I really like going to weddings. The only problem is I don't have any friends, mainly because, you know, most people suck. So, I don't really get invited to a ton of weddings, and most of our friends that were going to get married young already have had their weddings, and, you know, I just really like going to them. So, one day, me and Grant were sitting on YouTube, and we're watching this YouTuber called Yes Theory. I'm sure you guys have heard of him. They just, like, do crazy stuff, right? They just kind of go out and they're like, you know, sometimes you just have to make experiences and get out of your comfort zone, and getting out of your comfort zone is the most important part of life. And I was like, yeah, dude, that's really dope. And they had this one video where they crashed a stranger's wedding. So me and Grant were watching it sitting at the computer, and I was like, dog, hear me out. What if we went to a stranger's wedding? Like, let's go crash a wedding, bro. It's Vegas. There's weddings all the time. Like, let's ball out. Let's go crash a wedding. And Grant was like, no, dude. Like, come on. There's no way. We don't have any dates. We don't have anything. I'm like, bro, that's even better. If we don't have dates, then we're really going to be easy to blend in because we won't have to, like, make a lot of room. Come on, let's go crash a wedding. But, you know, Grant being Grant and being a little more reserved and shy than me was like, no. I don't want to crash a wedding. So I did what's really important when your friend won't do something with you, and I peer pressured him and blackmailed him into going with me. So after about 50 minutes of convincing Grant that we should go crash a wedding, we were like, all right, full send, we're gonna go crash a wedding. Like, all right, let's do this. So we put on our suits, and we meet downstairs from our rooms, and we're like, all right, let's do this. We're sending it. Let's go. So where I live now, it's in a country club. Like, that's the best way to explain it. So I always knew that there's usually a wedding going on the weekends at the country club because for some reason, white women just really love getting married on golf courses, you know? Something about where Tiger Woods won the Masters just really gets them going. So we decided to go down to the clubhouse and just see if there's a wedding. And sure enough, we're pulling up, and we can tell that there's definitely a party, a bar mitzvah, a wedding, something going on here. And, you know, like, hey, I would have crashed a bar mitzvah too. I think that would have been a good time. But it ended up being a wedding. So Grant and I are like, sick. All right, you know, how do we want to do this? So we formulate a little bit of a plan, and we're like, all right, so they're sitting down, they're having like their reception, like the party thing now. So I guess the best way to do it would just be to go in and make friends with somebody who's actually invited there. So that way, if anyone walks up to us, they'll be like, oh, no, like they're supposed to be here, and then we have somebody to have our back. So we're kind of like standing outside of this room where the wedding's going on, and we're kind of watching, trying to see who knew the groom, oh my gosh, I couldn't talk, who knew the groom, who knew the bride, trying to get a general layout of who's who. So eventually we single out that there's somebody that we either think is the groom's sister or cousin, one of the two, and she's kind of just like hanging out. She's been talking to the groom a lot. So I'm like, all right, Grant, I don't know who you're going to introduce yourself to. I'm going to go up to the groom's sister, cousin, whatever she is, and that's who I'm going to talk to. Because if there's anyone that has the authority to be like, no, they belong here, it's the guy who's related to the groom. So I walk up to her, and I'm just like, hey, you know, I hadn't seen anyone else that I really know here. Like, is it okay if I hang out with you? And she's like, yeah, no problem, of course. So I start talking to her, and we're just having a normal conversation, and she had a table really close to, like, where the family sat. I don't know why she wasn't sitting up on the main part with the bride and the groom, but she wasn't, because come to find out, it's the groom's sister. So me and her are talking, and, you know, she's like, hey, why don't you come sit next to me? There's an open seat. Forget the seating chart. Like, come sit with me. And I'm like, oh, sweet, no problem. I didn't have a seat anyways, lady. That's what you didn't know. So I go sit next to her, and we're just having a normal conversation, and I don't know who Grant walked up to and started cozying up to, and I'm really confused, and we're past all the speeches and stuff, so there's people dancing and whatnot, and I look out, and I see Grant is dancing with like a 78-year-old woman, bro. I was like, hey, I'm gonna go hit on the groom's cute sister, and Grant went, nah, that's not where it's at. I'm gonna go ask Grandma Becky to take a spin. So I'm not even kidding. Grant is getting down and dirty with their grandma in the middle of the dance floor, which attracts maybe a little bit too much attention to us. Like, you know, someone just talking to the pretty girl that's related to the groom, not too suspicious. But homeboy out here twerking on their grandmother, like that might be enough to raise suspicions, right? So we're kind of there for like an hour. We're having a great time. I'm starting to learn the history of the bride and the groom. I had a cover story for how I knew the groom. Like, I had it together, and I was like, dang, we're really going to pull this off. I didn't think it was going to be this easy to crash a wedding. Like, I definitely thought that we were going to get yeeted on. So the groom's sister asked me to dance, and I'm not a fantastic dancer by any means, but I was like, all right, well, if I say no, then I'm going to sit here alone, which is going to raise questions. So, like, yeah, I guess I'll dance with you. So we go out on the dance floor, and I don't know if this dude's sister was like a dance major in college or whatever, but this girl could move it, and she was not afraid to show that she might have liked me a little bit more than just sitting next to me on a wedding. That's all I'm going to say, but this girl was definitely putting on the moves, and I was just kind of sitting there flabbergasted, and people were starting to stare a little bit, and I got the attention of her father and the groom because they were like, who's this dude dancing with my daughter and my sister, which is totally fair, you know, like totally a reasonable thing to think is, this guy is dancing weirdly close to my sister. Who is this dude at my wedding? So we're dancing for probably 10, 15 more minutes. And afterwards, we go sit back down. And the groom walks over and just kind of looks at me. And he's like, hey, I don't recognize you. Who are you? And you know, I had a cover story. I had everything. But when the guy who is your cover story walks up to you and asks for your cover story, it's kind of hard to keep it going, you know? Like, you kind of run into a little bit of a trouble. So I'm kind of like, and I'm stuttering and I'm fumbling with my words. And usually I'm pretty smooth. Like, usually I can talk my way out of trouble. But in this instance, I'm not doing too hot, right? And at the exact time that I'm stumbling and looking like a moron, Grant walks up to me thinking his cover is good because he was just dancing with their grandmother and is like, hey, Ryan, man, such a great wedding, don't you agree? And the groom's like, wait, who are you? And if there's one person that you can never count on to keep a cover story going, it's Grant. Because he's just such a nice guy. Like, don't get me wrong, this isn't an insult to Grant. Grant is such a sweetheart that when it comes to capping and keeping a story together and getting away with something you're not supposed to be doing, he falls apart. Like, this guy is really, really rough. You know, if I was going to murder somebody with anyone, it would not be Grant, because this dude would not be able to keep his mouth shut. Not that I ever would, okay? That sounded really psychopathic, but, like, you guys get what I'm saying, right? So, Grant stumbles even harder than I do, and he just starts apologizing to the guy. And at this point, it becomes very obvious to the groom that we are not supposed to be here, right? Like, we are definitely not invited to this wedding. He doesn't know how we got in here, but he knows that we are not supposed to be here, and he says, you guys need to leave. So, you know, Grant and I not wanting to cause any problems, we just get up and start to leave. But the groom is like, these guys crashed the wedding, and he yells it. And everyone's, like, staring at us now. And the guy's sister is kind of like, wait, what? Like, she's asking me what's going on. And at this point, you know, the gig's up. So I kind of tell his sister, yeah, we weren't invited. We just thought it would be fun to crash a wedding. And she's like, oh, well, how did you guys, like, get into the country club? And I was like, well, I live here. And then she was like, oh, well, here, take my phone number. And the groom's like, no, don't give him your phone number. He just crashed my wedding. And, like, the sister and brother started arguing. I got her number. Don't worry, squad. Like, double dab, fist pump. You know what I mean? Fist bump for it. I got the number. And then, you know, a bunch of very, very angry looking uncles walk up to us and are like, you guys need to go. So we get escorted out by Italian Joe and the big man mafia. And they're kind of like, how dare you? Who do you guys think you are to crash a wedding? Like, how dare you? And everybody's staring at us. And, you know, in the moment, like, we were a little nervous because obviously a bunch of big dudes that seem pissed at you for crashing their nephew or like whatever it was weddings definitely isn't the most calming thing to see. Like, that crowd of dudes coming at you isn't calming. But, you know, they kicked us out. They were like, yo, make sure these guys don't get back in. And the staff was like, okay, we won't. And then we went back to the car and just started hysterically laughing, okay? Because to be honest, we could infiltrate the Kremlin, all right? We got into a wedding. Grant danced with the grandma. I got the groom's sister's phone number, and we still hung out for like 2 hours before they noticed anything weird and kicked us out. And to be honest, the only reason we got kicked out is because Grant's a bad liar. Like, that's really what it boils down to. We honestly could have kept this going as much as humanly possible. So as crazy as it is, as embarrassing as it was to get kicked out, I'm not gonna lie, it's an experience. You know, I like to do a lot of things for the meme and for the story, just because I think, you know, sometimes you just gotta send it. Sometimes you just gotta go do stupid stuff that you know is stupid, just because it's really fun. Like, it's really, really, really fun to do stupid stuff and get a story out of it. But yeah, that's the story time that Grant and I crashed a wedding and got kicked out, and I got the groom's sister's number. I haven't texted her yet. I just kind of forgot, but now that I'm telling the story, I don't know if I should. So yeah, probably not. Sorry, groom's sister, if you're watching this, I'm probably not going to text you. But yeah, on that note, guys, that's going to do it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to press the like button. Let me know in the comment section down below what you thought. And as always, subscribe if you're new. Today's notification shout out goes to the one, the only. Are you ready for this, guys? You won't believe the absolute legend that has gotten the notification shout out today. It is Matthias F. What a G. What a G. Shout out to you for having notifications on. If you want a notification shout out, all you got to do is turn on notifications, send me a screenshot on Instagram. And on that note, guys, don't get anyone pregnant. And if you do, make sure that people don't crash your wedding, all right? Because trust me, I will. I will show up to your wedding. I'm not afraid. And then I'll date your sister. So unless you want that to happen, I would be very, very careful about who you knock up.